don't have the life that you want and that bothers you, because that bothers you, you are then bothered consistently. Okay? When you're consistently bothered, this becomes your identity. It becomes part of who you are. You are a person who is consistently bothered. The thoughts that we entertain and information we bring in is going to change how we feel. It's going to give us a certain feeling and emotion. And based on those feelings and emotions, you are going to do other things. You're going to act in the world based upon that. You are going to then have more thoughts. It's going to become this like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. All right. So now there's different kinds of thoughts. For the sake of what I'm saying here, let's just divide them into two different types. You have a voluntary thought, right? So let's say when you were a kid, you took to heart, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? If you do that, if you have an apple every day, you're going to go to the grocery store, and every time you're at the grocery store and you're going through the produce section, you're going to notice all the apples, and you're going to become effectively an apple expert, right? You're going to know what all the apples taste like, right? You're going to become aware of all the apples and which apples you like and which you don't like. Now, that's a very intentional thing, an intentional habit that you have developed because you heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and you latched onto it. It became part of who you are. You are a person who eats an apple every single day. That's just who you are now. Maybe you want to draw an apple. Well, you're going to then think of an apple, the way the light hits it, right? You're going to imagine the shape of it, the color, right? The size. And from that intentional thought, you're then going to draw it on paper. Very intentional. Now, you also have unintentional thoughts, right? Now, this could be something that randomly pops in your head. You'll be sitting there having a cup of coffee, and then you'll think about, I don't know, a crush you had in 8th grade, right? You might even travel in your mind to the 8th grade, right? And it's like they're right there in front of you. Well, the thought just popping into your mind was unintentional, but entertaining the thoughts, it's no different than entertaining a friend who's coming to visit in town, right? If you have a friend that's coming to visit, you would make sure there's a place for them prepared, a prepared place for them to sleep. You would ask what their favorite snacks are, and you'd fill your pantry with those snacks. You'll ponder things that they like to do, and you can find events, activities, places to go in your hometown or where you live that they would like, right? So to entertain a person is you're effectively making a home for that person, or a homely place, a place of comfort for them. And you're nourishing them, and like you're feeding them, all of these things. That's what entertaining is all about. Well, that's what I mean. Entertaining thoughts means you can't always control the thought that pops in your head, but you can control whether you entertain the thought or not, right? So if you had a bad experience one time, it just happens that one time. But it's up to you if that bad experience happens a second time, and a 5th time, and a 100th time, as you are imagining it over and over and ruminating over it. Reminds me, I'm watching Sopranos right now. It's my favorite show. I know, so spiritual. Such a spiritual show. Anyway, I just, a couple weeks ago, saw a particular episode, and I think it's mentioned throughout the show, but either way, if you've seen it or not, doesn't matter. Tony Soprano's the main character. He has an uncle, his Uncle Junior, and there is a show, or a few scenes, where Junior, as his memory is sort of slipping, he mentions that Tony didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete, right? So he keeps saying it over and over. And this really pisses Tony off, right? But you have just the statement, right? And you'll get these all throughout your life too. You'll have someone who says something, might be a little triggering, might be based on a past experience that you didn't like. They'll say something, it'll hit you to your core, and then you'll find the rest of the day you're pissed off. Or maybe you react to them, right? You become bothered by it. And in the show, Tony is super bothered by it. So his uncle mentions it once, he's a little pissed, but lets it slide. Mentions it again later on, and he blows up. Becomes this whole thing where, in order to get to that point where he's blowing up over this comment that he's not a varsity athlete, and all of us have that, right? Our parent or a grandparent will say something about us when we were kids, something that should have happened but didn't happen. And it'll make you think about maybe a shortcoming, right? You can consider that a shortcoming in life. But with Tony, you can tell, like, he really was ruminating it, right? He was just sitting there focusing on it. He probably thought about other shortfalls in his life. He probably thought about, man, I just want my uncle to love me. This is conditional. He doesn't even love me. I think he even says that. He goes, don't you love me? So he's clearly, this little comment has hit him so deep in his core that he's questioning his uncle's love for him. So effectively, Tony, in this episode, took this comment and he entertained it, right? So it wasn't just a comment. It then brought up, in his mind, he goes back to his high school days when being a varsity athlete didn't work out, right? And he thought about that. He literally traveled back then. When you have a thought like that, you literally, in your mind, you are traveling back in time to a regret. And you are then there all over again. And wherever you are mentally is what exists right now. So you go back, maybe you wanted to be a varsity athlete, but you didn't do it. And you regret it. Well, when you are actively regretting it and entertaining that thought, you are traveling back in time. And you are there reliving this failure again. And that's what entertaining will do, right? So whether it's something as innocent as an apple a day keeps the doctor away, which there's nothing necessarily good or bad about that, right? Or someone, like in the case of Tony Soprano, bringing up something that makes you feel shame on the inside. We feel like we identify strongly with these situations and events and thoughts. And we forget that we don't notice that we actually are judging and observing and are aware of the thoughts. We're not the thoughts itself. There's a distinction there. Okay? But when emotion and feeling gets wrapped up in these thoughts, we are the thought. We become the thought. Okay? And it puts us in a certain state of mind based on the feeling, right? And your feelings, your emotions, what you consistently think about, this will determine the reality that you experience. So let's say just being bothered, okay? You are bothered once, you are bothered twice, you end up being bothered all day. One thing leads to another, you exist in a state of botheredness. So you are quite literally identifying as a bothered person. And when you identify as a bothered person, you might not say this, but if you are bothered all the time, that is who you are. That is incorporated into your identity. It is a habit. And if you are habitually bothered by every little thing, you quite literally are the person that is bothered. So you might want to play violin in an orchestra, right? You might want to learn piano and you want to be a pianist, Okay? But to be a pianist, you do what a pianist would do. Okay? But right now, you're a professional at being bothered. Okay? So if you're a professional being bothered person, you are going to find more and more things in your reality to bother you because you are habitually doing this and you are a pro at it. And I know it seems like reality itself is making you bothered, okay? But you taking the attitude of being annoyed and bothered by everything is actually what's doing it. Because when you are bothered, you will see more things that bother you. Just like if you eat an apple a day, keep the doctor away, you are going to notice the apples every single time you go to the grocery store because you habitually eat apples. Do you habitually eat botherings? Being bothered by every little thing, it will lead to resentment. And if it leads to resentment, you're going to resent others around you, and that will lead to a resentment of the world itself, resentment to life. This can really snowball. It's all compound interest, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it's physically, like going and lifting weights, whether you're quite literally in the stock market, or if you allow a state of botheredness to continue to grow, that small snowball going down the mountain, this little bothering can turn into a bigger one, bigger one. Next thing you know, your whole life's a wreck. You're bothered by everything. You're bothered by everyone. You know what? People suck. You can't rely on anybody. You know, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. You know all those little sayings that cynical, bitter people hold on to and they repeat and they throw out there, right? Oh, he's just lucky, blah, blah, blah. Or what, what I just said, that one in particular, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I've said that. I've said it. And upon reflection, I'm like, you know what? When I said that, I was in a pretty shitty mood. I was pretty damn bothered. Maybe I had an employee that didn't do the work, as if my employee is going to care as much about my company as me. And that was my expectation, really. I was just being pissed and bothered by that. So times in my life through experience, the more I'm bothered, the more things I find to piss me off. But the more I let it just slide off my back, finding seeds of positivity within the botheredness, shocking how much of that stuff just melts away. It is all habit. So, if you're bothered right now, you have a choice. Because whatever you're doing right now, the thoughts that you are entertaining right now, whatever it is, that is who you are. That is quite literally who you are being right now. So, whatever it is that you desire to be, you need to think to yourself here. If this were true, if I produced music, what would a person who produces music think, feel, and do? You need to start incorporating these things, and they will become a habit, okay? It is conscious at first, but it will go into your subconscious, and you will see it change. Your whole life will change if the thoughts you entertain change. It is all in here first, and then it is out here, okay? Be intentional with your thinking. You're going to have those natural intentional thoughts, right? Writing your grocery list is very intentional, right? But you're going to have these things as well that just hit you from left field. A small regret from the past. When those pop up, you got a choice. You can't help them from popping up. But you've got a choice. Are you just going to let it pop up and then go away like all your thoughts do? Or are you going to let it pop up, and are you going to sit there and imagine and think on it and think on it? And next thing you know, an hour's passed and all you've done is think of this regret you've had in the past? And then notice, like, okay, I feel like absolute dog shit right now. Oh, no wonder. I was thinking about something I regret. Why do I regret it? See, you have all these thoughts. So the solution here, I'm telling you, it almost sounds too simple. You know, you want to change your thoughts, change your thoughts. You want to change your life, change your life. You want to change who you are, change who you are. It's almost insultingly simple. But here's the thing. Like I've seen people say things like this, and I've felt this in the past. I've felt cynical about it. I have felt where I'm like, yeah, it's that simple. That's the thanks, I'm cured. But that really is it. That really is it. You decide. You decide. I don't care what your religious background is, spiritual background, atheist, doesn't matter. The whole thing is, all of this exists and was created. We exist and we create. So we are created in an image, imagination of a higher force. We are one and the same with that force. We're part of it. We quite literally create things in our reality. Whoops. Just knocked over some fancy whole cashew nuts. Where was I? No. We're created. And you don't have to believe this. I'm asking you to just assume it for a moment, okay? Everything is created. It exists. We could touch and feel it in this physical reality. What do human beings do? We do the same thing. We create. We pull things from here and we from our imagination, and we move them into physical reality. Right? The phone I'm speaking into, the little camera right there. Okay, you're watching this on something that was created. All right, everything behind me was created by mind. So for the sake of this experiment, just assume everything else was created. We are made in that image. We create. And that's what this is right here as well. That is what we do every single day. So if you live in a state of being bothered, you will create more botherings. You don't want to be bothered, I know. But what you place your attention on and what you focus on and what you think about and what you say, it's going to give you a certain feeling. And once it gives you that feeling, man, it's really getting incorporated into who you are. If you're reacting, and you're feeling it, that's being incorporated into your very being, and your subconscious mind will accept it as true. It'll accept it as something that you want more of, and guess what? You're going to see more of it. So the solution here, whatever you desire, whatever your desired reality is, then you have to have the mind assuming that you already have it. And it will happen. It will happen. You're planting seeds. If you want to produce music, right? That was the example I think earlier. If you want to be a music producer, be a music producer. If you want to be a doctor, right? That means plant a seed of doctorhood and then think the thoughts of a doctor. Say the things doctors say. Do the things doctors do, right? And it'll just be natural. It'll be a natural thing once it's built into a habit. When something is built into a habitual state, it is part of who you are. That means you identify with it. And then once, you know how habits go. Once something is a habit, it's so easy. Once something is a habit, even something that feels difficult to you right now, like working out, right? Working out's very difficult in the beginning because you're not a person who works out. Okay? Once you think the right thoughts, you consume the right things, you do the right things, right? You do things that align with someone who is physically active and works out, then it becomes easy to work out. It becomes easy to eat the right things. It becomes easy to eat enough protein. Whatever. It becomes easy to warm up. It becomes easy to stretch afterwards to make sure your muscles are nice and limber, right? Because you have incorporated being a working out person into your being. And that's all this is. And that's what our imagination does for us. We're getting a little long on the teeth. I'm rambling a little bit at this point, but hopefully you get the point. If you're bothered right now, simply choose not to be. Choose to be someone who's not bothered by the little things. The world will throw you curveballs because it wants to keep you where you already are, right? It wants to keep giving you more of who you are. Change who you are, and you'll get more of that, all right? That's enough for today. Leave a comment. Let me know if you like this video or not. I'm trying to find the right format to do things. But the main thing is the message, and the rest will come. Love you guys, and let me know if I can help in any way. Take care.